I don't even know what else to say. I started the show with my recap from last night. The Seattle Kraken fall in overtime to Ottawa 4-3. It was Mark Giordano that takes a penalty in the 3-on-3 in the overtime that ultimately led to Josh Norris's goal at the 2:34 mark of overtime. Josh Norris also scored the opening goal. That was after the Seattle Kraken had one of their goals recalled. Seconds after. It's getting really frustrating, folks. I know that the broadcast perhaps feels that they have to keep us, positive, rah rah. Sometimes you got to call it like you see it. I think the studio guys did a better job of that. But this was not great. So, again, 4-3 loss. The Seattle Kraken gave up one to Josh Norris in the first. Then you had Brady Tkachuk and Parker Kelly scored in the second. Then you had 3 response goals in the third by the Seattle Kraken. Jared McCann gets his 22nd goal of the season. Ryan Donato gets his 12th of the season. Mason Appleton gets his 6th of the season. And then again, that lapse, that breakdown, some people said it was a soft call. It's really tough to be put in a position where you can even make that call. So, I don't know. Again, we know that Gio is on his way out. I don't know if that's weighing on the guy. I can't imagine that it's not. We're about 10 days, right, from the trade deadline. But it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. That being said, Drieger, I've wanted you to get more time, but this was not Drieger's game. There were a few instances where Drieger has got to know that that he wasn't strong enough in net. And you've heard Ron Francis talk about it. Actually, Dave Haxtell, I believe it was before yesterday's game and a little bit after, talked about it. That being said, I think you'll hear Ken or McCann talk about leaving your goalie out to dry. Turnovers at the offensive blue zone. At the offensive blue line. It can't happen. It can happen. All right, let's go over to first. Let me take you to what Dave Haxtell said before the game, because I think it actually you might not even know. Did he say it before? Did he say it after? Here's what he said technically pre-game, going into the Ottawa game, and then he really didn't have much to say after. But what is there to say? It's the same. It's rinse, repeat, wash, rinse, repeat. So here's Dave Haxtell. As I mentioned, Jared McCann got the first goal for the Seattle Kraken. Obviously, he's the only Seattle Kraken member that is safe and secure as we get to the trade deadline. Here's what he had to say after the loss. And also Ryan Donato. We haven't seen him in the lineup for a little bit here. I don't understand that. He's talking briefly about when he gets opportunities, taking those opportunities. And that's exactly why I like Ryan Donato. That's exactly why I don't understand why we're not seeing more Ryan Donato. But let's hear from him. And coming up next on Locked On Kraken, we're going to hear from Dave Haxtell after this game. Again, not really much to say. We're also going to talk about Calle Yarncroke and the trade deadline, and then we'll close getting you ready for Montreal, which is another must win for the Seattle Kraken. I guess if you're not going to win, get at least a point, but they got to get points, and more than that, they got to get wins. So we'll talk about that coming up on Locked On Kraken. It's that time of year that a lot of people have pretty much given up on their New Year's resolutions, but not if you stick with Built Bar. And have you tried the Puffs? If you haven't, you're missing out on Built Bar's best tasting bars, still 100% covered in chocolate. The Puffs have a protein packed marshmallowy goodness that's also in the center, and it's amazing. You've got coconut marshmallow, cinnamon churro flavor, banana cream pie. They're amazing. And you're still getting most Built Bars at around 130 calories per bar, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar that's around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. So head over to built.com, get your mint brownie, your coconut almond cherry barcia double chocolates, my favorite, and the new for this month, white chocolate cookies and cream. So go to built.com, use promo code LOCKS15 to get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKS15 for 15% off at built.com. Happy snacking. All right, thank you, Seattle Kraken fans, for making Locked On Kraken your first listen of the day or of the night. I'm traveling once again to call Premier Hockey Federation games, so giving you this wrap up from the road. But anyway, thank you for listening to the show. And as always, if you want to learn more about what's going on throughout the National Hockey League, check out Locked On Now, available wherever you get your podcasts, and of course on YouTube, absolutely free. All right. Dave Haxtell spent about 3 minutes talking to media after the game, but I do want you to hear a few clips. Again, we've heard it all before, not much else to say, but here's what Dave said. He was not asked about Ryan Donato, and he did not talk very much about Ryan Donato. I think that's a question worth asking. Anyway, here's Dave Haxtell. All right, and so trade deadline. We've mentioned it before. I've talked with Ann Kimmel about Calle Yarncroke, and Ryan S. Clark has another fantastic article over at The Athletic. You should check it out, breaking down what could make dealing Yarncroc advantageous for the Seattle Kraken, but then what also makes it difficult for the Seattle Kraken, because he's a great balanced two-way player. He is stability, which is something that the Seattle Kraken desperately need. And so, yeah, you want to rack up on the trade deadline. Ryan reporting that the Kraken really are going to build through the lottery. I think that means a little more heartache, and I think they can be a little bit better than that. But you've also, even in this story, given the teams and how they've managed their salary cap per cap friendly, it's still going to be a rough road for the Seattle Kraken. So in that way, if you stack up on lottery and draft picks and prospects, and you get some money in the bank, that might put the Seattle Kraken in a better position in a few years from now, as opposed to in their first 2 seasons, which it's looking like is going to be a pretty hard road. So, some of the things that stand out to me from Ryan's article, and again, check it out over at The Athletic, and you can check out the show notes below. But Yarncroke can play wing. He can also play up the middle. That versatility is exactly what got Jared McCann, in part at least, his contract. So that's something to keep in mind. Calle Yarncroke also is really at pace to be at or better than what he produced last season. And Kimmel and I had talked about that, I guess, a week or so ago. So for a team that's struggling to score, Calle Yarncroke is starting to, at the end of this season, get on pace, just under a point per game type of player. And that might be something with that stability that he can provide also defensively that the Seattle Kraken might want to focus on. And so another thing, and I think this is important and worth noting, that Ryan S. Clark writes about, is that the Kraken currently have 8 draft picks with an additional 4th rounder that they received from the Calgary Flames. So they're definitely packing in. And so moving on from Giordano would push that number to 9 picks if the pick acquired was for the 2022 NHL draft. So again, it's not a if, it's a where with Mark Giordano. I think it's tough. I don't know if anyone's stock on the Seattle Kraken is necessarily going up, but we got to see, and we'll play the games and see what happens. So, and then, anyway, Ryan S. Clark goes on to say, so it is possible that a middle six forward like Yarncroc could lead the Kraken to receiving a second or third round pick should they be willing to part with him. Second, third round pick, that's manageable. Again, building up for the future, building up to maybe get what they really want in the off season or maybe in a few seasons to come. But what happens if Yarncroc stays? Ryan asks. Keeping him would mean Francis and his staff would have a handful of months to secure a new contract before free agency starts, and they face competition from other teams. Right now, again, McCann's 5-year deal is a $5 million annual hit, so 5 years, $5 million a year. And the Seattle Kraken are projected to have about $22.783 million in cap space going into free agency. But as we talked about yesterday, they still have restricted free agents or RFAs, Ryan Donato and Morgan Geekie, as examples to figure out. And then, of course, they're unrestricted free agents where you have Blackwell, Sheahan, Yarncroc, Johansson that we talked about yesterday. So definitely some deals to make. I see both sides of the Calle Yarncroc debate. Personally, I think if the Seattle Kraken are still trying to maintain the character that they build, Yarncroc is someone that you keep. I've talked about Riley Sheahan. Um, that might be someone that I'm willing to part ways with because defensively, for my money, not getting it done. But we'll see what happens. Coming up next, Seattle Kraken fans, we're going to get ready for Montreal. In case you missed it, Jen Mueller giving us a weather update on social media. I thought that was a lot of fun. But we'll get into what we need to know before the teams hit the ice and before the Seattle Kraken. Let's manifest this, get the road win to close out this road trip before returning home. It's that time of year again where college basketball tournament is finally upon us. It's March. Things get crazy. You know what I'm talking about. From the latest odds, contests, and player props, BetOnline is the number one source for all your sports betting needs and info. BetOnline remains the best spot for your sports scores, your podcasts, and even all of the news that you need for the season. And of course, it's not just basketball. Hello, we're a hockey podcast. But they also have everything else you need: live betting, favorite casino games. It goes on and on and on. So head to the website or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. Bet online, where the game starts. All right, folks, the Seattle Kraken have another chance. I was disappointed, as you heard at the beginning of the show, or if you saw it on social media. I'm not happy. But I told you yesterday, if they didn't get a win, it's going to get into somebody's rear. And they need that. I need someone to go into the locker room and, kick a trash can, not in the direction of anyone, but get fired up. This team is better than that. You got to play for pride sometimes. Yeah, hold fast, stay true, but also hold fast to the things that get you wins. Stay true to the game. Don't cheat the game. You hear the greats, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, always talk about never cheating the game. The Seattle Kraken at times are trying to cut corners and it's biting them in the butt because other teams have more time together. Anyway, I could go on for days. This is what the matchup is looking like. Montreal in their last 10, 7-3-0. We're 1-7-2. They're 15-35-7 on the season. We're 17-37-6 on the season. We got it done against them. 5-1 win last time, and this was a statement win. This was around the time the Seattle Kraken were tired, absolutely tired of losing. You heard Jared McCann talk about in the third, they played desperate. They're desperate to win a game. I don't know if that was necessarily the word choice I would have picked, but they're so tired of losing. So 5-1 is what we saw last time, but they're going up against a Montreal team that's on a streak right now. We're not on a streak. We're on a skid. Power play. Woo! 31st in the league. Montreal has the worst power play in the league. We're only a little bit better. Penalty kill. I mean, 28th, 29th, what's the real difference? Goals for, almost even. Goals against actually favors us. This is a game the Seattle Kraken have to go get from puck drop. The mic is right by my hand, so I apologize if that got a little loud. They have to go get this game right away from the puck drop. I've joked about it before, but maybe they need to have a seriously intense morning skate, replicate that adrenaline rush so that they play the first period how they played the third period. We've talked about this before. We're recycling old storylines. I was joking around offline with a colleague that it's almost gotten to the point where I could record the Locked On Kraken podcast at any point in time. Just read a script and just, edit the score, edit the opponent, edit the whatever, because it's the same. It's the same old song all the time. The last time the Seattle Kraken, in a real way, for my money, one of the last times that the Seattle Kraken took the game against this Montreal team. Is that going to happen again? I'd love to see it. They did it at home before. Now they'd have to do it on the road. I don't know that there's a choice here, right? I said it yesterday. Didn't quite come to fruition. I need them to get fired up. They got to get fired up. They got to show me that they're not just this nice, polite teenager, but that there's some fire in their pit, in the pit of their stomach. I keep telling you, Ryan Donato's got it. Yanni Gourde has it from time to time. I see Schwartzy and Eberle every once in a while, even from the podium. I can't imagine they're saying anything on the podium to us as media that they're not saying in the locker room. I need more fire. I need more fire on the ice. If you've seen clips of me calling a hockey game, you see I get fired up. So maybe I have a type. Maybe I have a type. The Seattle Kraken are not playing to my type right now. I'll tell you that. That being said, am I frustrated? Yes, absolutely. I'm so frustrated. That being said, this is a good group of guys. The franchise is they're doing things right. But that's what makes it more frustrating for me. There's so many things that you're doing right. And then it's the little things that break down. Exits, entries, turnovers, hustle, back checking. If you make a turnover, if you turn the puck over as you enter your offensive zone and you don't haul buns, that's a problem. That's a pull you out of the game type problem for me. No. I'll take my chances with someone who maybe on paper or maybe even in my mind is a less skilled player if it means that they're going to hustle. Got no time to waste. What have they got to lose at this point? I don't understand. Scratch Hayden Fleury, scratch Ryan Donato, scratch. I don't understand. What have you got to lose at this point? Whatever you're doing is not working. Anyway, I'm on the road, just like the Seattle Kraken, but I should be able to give you a post game. I've only got one game that I'm calling tomorrow, so I won't be up in the wee hours of the night. We'll do a recap. Hopefully, I'll be fired up, but in a good way. I did like, though, that I called the comeback. Didn't quite get the win, right? But I called the comeback. I'm just saying, the last time I was calling a game, it was the home team came back from a 3-0 deficit to win 5-3. I was on the call. Maybe you should try it, Seattle Kraken. I don't know. I'm just saying. Manifesting. I'm manifesting that just as much as the next Seattle Kraken win. But it's the weekend, so we're going to do everything on social media. I'll catch you folks on Monday. Until then, hold fast, stay true, let's go Kraken. Be good to yourselves and each other.